to move into the discussion today, we're going to talk about how great design teams influence business. And maybe a way to crack this open is to ask you that there seems to be an awakening, right, in the design industry, to be a lot more business oriented. Now, why do you think that is? Why now? And how is that playing out in your respective roles?
I've been lucky enough to be working in product design and things for about 20 years, and at least in my time doing product design, the fundamentals haven't really changed, which is there's a recognition that the heart of what we do is about product design and engineering. Now, in the last number of years, the groups have widened so that user research and market research and content design and data analytics and data science and commercialization and customer service are all part of that triad. But fundamentally, the role of a designer is connected to impact, and they've understood it. I think what's changed in the last few years is more that we're starting to have design-founded companies, which have reached very large valuations, places like Airbnb. We've got groups like the Designer Fund, which specialize in funding design-led companies. We've got chief design officers. We've got designers in residence at a lot of the top venture capital firms. And in terms of why it's happening now, from my expectation, it's that users' expectations of their customer experiences have been going up. When a new capability comes in, just being able to do it is enough to make people really, really excited. But in this cycle of tech, it's being possible is no longer enough. Consumers and customers are expecting a great experiences, and so companies can no longer be successful, without great design. So it's becoming a mandatory part of what we do. At Venmo, the way I think it's played out, we talk about the Venmo experience and wanting to make sure that it's fundamentally fun, fast, and social. And we're expanding what you'll be able to do at Venmo beyond just sending friends money back and forth, but to help connect you to local businesses and to help make purchases and to really potentially run your business. And all of that is an experience question. So that's created the opportunity for us to build the relationships that we need to be successful and have influence in the business as well as in the user experience.
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and really absolutely agree with what Micah's sharing, right? I think fundamentally, the reason really is that technology, right, has enabled us to track performance, and we're able to do A/B testing, right, to really pinpoint the UI effectiveness. And I think this is really the foundation for the first time in history, right? Design can actually measure, the impact. So I think that's quite fundamental. I think second layer to that is lots of business are moving online, especially right now, right, during the pandemic, so that people don't really have a choice. If you don't have a good design, really, you can't really sell your product or services successfully, right? So that, again, forces people to realize the design impact in a business context. I think the third dimension really is something I can link with my personal experience, is that I feel as much as the awakening is happening, it is not a given. It is generations and many, many designers around the world working really hard to make these realizations. I feel I can give an example, right, to illustrate this process in my career. I've been working as a UX professional for about 20 years. I remember in the early days, in the very first few years, when I started at Yahoo, my first job, I did a design impact report to my general manager to show the impact that I had, right, with my work in dollar terms. I remember the comment she made was that this is the first time I see design in business terms. So that was 2003. And then fast forward a few years to 2007, I joined Microsoft and was designing for MSN portal homepage. So I was taking on this project to redesign a portal for five countries because they had issues, right, with the new design, and there was engagement regression. So I flew there and understood the user pain points, did the redesign, uplifted the click-through rate across 5 countries on average of 40%. So that was a great opportunity for the business to see that what design can bring to your business success. And as a result, I was leading the remaining 42 countries, right? And it was a big deal because MSN was ranked number 2, number 3 in the world back then. So I think it was not really a recognition for me as an individual. It was really a recognition for design as a discipline. So I think that if you think about today, 2020, and in the world of Facebook, for example, I think the things and the dynamic has really changed. For us, the designers and cross-functional teams, right? We are really equal now. We work cross-functionally and taking the same weight in terms of product strategies and to form our business visions. So I think that is my personal journey, and I feel it's reflective, right, of the reality.
Your story about Yahoo reminds me, again, 20 years ago when I was at eBay. And at that point, let's say the eBay design team was like 7 people, I think maybe 10. Design was perceived within the organization at that point really as a service organization, as a like, here's a bunch of stuff, marketing made stuff, product design will make stuff. It was definitely more dollars and cents driven. But we had a mighty team which believed that we could do a lot. And so like one of the questions I hear people asking about is like, how did you handle sort of trying to change that? One of the things we did was like first meeting expectations and then trying to exceed them. So like if you just run off and are like, wait, I'm going to do this strategy. Well, people will be like, that's nice, but do your job. Like I have this thing I have to get done. We had to do what was asked, but then we had to go above and beyond and say, not only that, we can think about what the strategy can be. And to do that, we had a bridge period where it meant we were doing 2 jobs and we weren't necessarily staffed to do the 2 jobs. So we worked extra hard. But by showing the value of what we could do and to help establish a bunch of strategies that led to changes in the product direction, people realized that product design was a critical part of the experience. We started to build those relationships.
I think going back to Xiaodan, you talked about creating a design impact report. I do see questions about how do you quantify the impact of a design? How do you demonstrate the ROI of user experience? If you could speak a little bit to that, both of you from your experience, that would be great.
Absolutely, I can address this first, right, and then pass to Micah. Yeah. I think my experience, right, is that number one is really to ask the experts, because we don't naturally all go to business school, right, to understand how those impacts are calculated. So I think ask the experts. And second, I think, is to take some part-time course or whatever classes you can take, right, relating to business or new media management. For example, my expert was my husband, actually, when I was at Yahoo, my then boyfriend. I was asking him the question because he was a finance professional. I asked him, hey, I want to represent my design value, but can you share with me how do I translate my click-through rates and conversion rates into lifetime value so I can show, how much money I actually generated to the company via my design. So he helped me to build this formula, and I was able to leverage that, right, to do that presentation I did. So I think that's one. And then I took this 9 months long part-time class called the New Media Management through the University of London. And that really taught me a lot of things about business, about management, about technical knowledge and the conceptual skills. So I think those investment, right, is definitely worth it.
As you said, asking the experts is totally right. Like, this is why it depends on your organization, of course. Like who you go to ask will be different. You may or may not have a dedicated analytics person or finance person or product person. It depends on the nature of your organization. But fundamentally, your business has to have a way that they keep score. How are they winning? Right? What's the definition of success? It ultimately likely comes down to dollars and cents. But behind those dollars and cents are a set of behaviors. And if the users do these behaviors, they turn into the dollars and cents. And behind the behaviors is some core customer value. If there isn't value, then you're not going to be in business for very long. But like if you can understand what that chain is, like what is it, what is the value that we can create, then you can start to be creative about understanding what we can bring to the table. I think the superpower that we as designers have is one of them is being able to emote really well and to try to connect and understand as well as to communicate. One of the superpowers of people who are a little bit more left brain is to be able to analyze and to understand impact, right? Like one of the most painful experiences I had working with people who potentially are right out of school. In school, you may be given a problem or a project, at least historically, and treat it as like, oh, I'm going to make this part gorgeous or work really, really well. But if that step is step 3 and no one gets to step 3, it is irrelevant. You are putting energy into something that's not going to have an impact. So understanding how your business measures impact. An old friend of mine used to say that the job of product, and here I'm going to say big P product because it includes design, is to define the game you're playing and how you keep score. So like, what is the strategy that you're trying to go after? And what are the metrics that you use to keep score? This is something Facebook as an organization does incredibly well. They give teams a great deal of autonomy to say, okay, what are you going after? You define it based on your customer insights. How are you going to keep score? What's your metric? Okay, now we will judge you by that. You're the one who picked the goal. You're the one who picked the number. If you don't hit the number, that's not good. And that's true for everybody on the team. Everyone has a sense of ownership of those things. And that accountability is really powerful. So even if that isn't in your company's culture, if you bring it, if you say, hey, help me understand the business, help me understand how it works, and you express that curiosity, people will want to help you. And if then you can bring your creativity to help do what everyone's trying to do, which is to make value for our customers, value for the business, and execute a great experience.